Well, hello, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great day. I've got, I'm sitting here wondering, okay? Because I'm sitting here thinking about the Cowboys and what's going on. Now humor me here for a minute. I'm actually out here working on some kitchen cabinets, getting the face frames done. I built all the carcasses yesterday, and today I'm getting the face frames for it, the solid wood, solid maple. And boy, is maple not cheap. Anyway, we heard Stephen Jones talking about there's not a case where that he expects the Cowboys to trade up, which sounds about right because you look at this draft and say there's not a lot of players that you look at and say this is a generational guy and you've got to get. There's not the Andrew Luck guy that they said that, you know, if you need a quarterback, Andrew Luck's the guy you got to go get. I could be wrong, but that's the way I look at it. Okay. And trading back would net us some more players. But here's the thing. It's kind of like in Desert Storm. You remember in Desert Storm when they were making the plans? They basically were making you think that we were going to have an amphibious assault coming off the Gulf. And that's what everybody thought and expected us to do when we went after Saddam Hussein. But what they were really doing was they came through the desert where nobody thought they were going to go. Deception. And it surprises people. So we hear Jeanty so many times talking about how much he loves the Cowboys and how he would love to be playing there and so on. And, you know, Jerry Jones with the championship belt and everything else. And Jeanty basically saying that he is going to be Saquon Barkley and he is coming to town to do some damage. That he is going to do everything in his power to be great. Now you start thinking, maybe this guy really might be the real deal. He might be the second coming of Saquon Barkley, and maybe something that the Cowboys could really use. Because that's about the only guy I look at and say, maybe you do need to go up for that kind of guy, right? That would be my thought process on it. Sure. 32. Did I put the wrong ones on here? Hold up. Yeah, I got it right. So hear me out for a second. The last thing you want to do is let people know what you really want. Okay? If the Cowboys go through, because remember when they used to say, oh, there's no scenario whatsoever that the Cowboys would draft Ashton Jeanty, and you listen to that. Is that just deflection? And that's who they're really targeting. And you really have to wait on the draft to see where it goes. Because, see, here's where you could look at it and say there's a case that could be said that they could do it. One of the positions, now I'm not sure that Hakeem is the guy, but one of the positions that you looked at and said, we definitely need to upgrade is the offensive line. Right? Okay. we end up getting Hakeem in there. We got him today. And you look at it and say, he's been a starter, he's been a guard, he's been a tackle, and we have a bunch of guys that we can go through, and we can basically make it a battle royale to see who's going to be the last one standing. And that's what we'll say for the offensive line. So depending on how the draft goes, now I'm not saying go up to 4 or anything like that, but there could be a case where if he gets past the Raiders, hold on. Hang on, somebody's calling. Frickin' spam. But a case could be made that if he gets past the Raiders at 6, that you make a move for him. Because maybe it's your first and your second. And the way the Cowboys have been with their second round picks in recent history, that might not be a bad play to go up and say, okay, we got Jeanty. We've got a premier running back now with our second pick. And maybe you end up using some of your later picks to try and get back into the second round with your second and third to get your wide receiver. I don't know that that's ideal, but if you get Ashton Jeanty with your first and your second, and you end up taking no, you don't have a fourth. Damn. If you take a fifth and a third, because our third is kind of high, you might be able to get back into the second and try and get your wide receiver. Because wide receiver and running back, they do say is deep. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's what they should do, is selling out. I honestly think that the best thing would be, well, okay, here's how you could do it. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. All right, let's say you took your first and your second, and you ended up getting Ashton Jeanty. If he starts falling, okay? Right? Then you sign Keenan Allen. That takes care of your running back. That takes care of your wide receiver number 2, and definitely gives you your 2 weapons. And you still have your third round pick and all of your other ones to go with it. That's how you can do it. See, the thing is we've had so many holes that we've needed to fill that we just couldn't fill. We just could not fill solely through the draft. You're going to have to do some free agency still, or some trades to get some quality starters and not rely on, a 5th round draft pick being a starter. If you get Keenan Allen, and now you've also got another guy who is depth on the offensive line. I'm not going to say that I don't know that much about Hakeem. I did see on Reddit where 2 years ago, Bengal fans were killing him. They were talking about how bad he was. But sometimes you just need a new opportunity. So hypothetically, if you do take your first and second and move up and get him, and you go out and get Keenan Allen, that's what you would hope to do with your first and second anyway, right? You figured first and second round, we were going wide receiver and running back. You can get the best running back in the draft, which is something the Cowboys like to do. They like on their first pick to get the best player available. And if you got Ashton Jeanty and then signed Keenan Allen, I don't think anybody would be upset by that. In fact, I would dare say that the talking heads would say it's a great draft. And you'd still have your third round pick. And we don't have to sit here and talk about how bad our second round picks have been. Crazy or not? That might be what the plan really is. But it all depends. The wild card here is what happens in the draft. And I think the big thing is going to be where the draft gets screwed up is if the Giants end up taking Sador in the first. Although it still may be screwed up because in this case, either we know Cam Ward will go number 1. Then we got Cleveland that probably will get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, and whichever one of those two the Giants probably take. But they may look and say, maybe we need to get that quarterback. And if they do, then you may see a mad scramble for Pittsburgh to get into it, and you may end up seeing all of a sudden panic from New Orleans and trying to get Jackson Dart. So if those things happen, there is a case in there. The one that I would think probably would draft would be the Raiders. Would probably draft Jeanty there. But if he gets past the Raiders, you can best believe the Cowboys are going to trade up for him. All right, that's my crazy, proposed trade. My proposed trade. Peace.